Okay, so yesterday, the Panthers gave a big contract extension to Christian McCaffrey, uh, and you know the raw number you see is never really the contract, but it was like averages about 16 million a year. So that brings it into relation with, well, we got our own running back, Dalvin Cook, who's probably going to be due for an extension if they want to give it to him. I think everything we've seen in the off season, and not just this off season, but many in the past, has, I think, shown you can't pay Cook what his market rate's going to be, um, because he's not going to get McCaffrey money. McCaffrey's on a level, maybe or even a couple levels up from Cook, because one of the big things is he stays healthy. And Cook's missed, he missed like about 3/4 of his rookie year, and then he's missed 4 or 5 games the second year, and I think he only technically missed a couple games this past year, but he was hurt through a lot of them. Um, so when he's been healthy and on the field, he's been great. But even there, I mean, even in the playoff game against San Francisco, he was shut down pretty easily. I mean, it all goes back to the offensive line. If you don't have the line, you really don't have, the running game you can count on, even as good as Cook is. And there really hasn't been much news on Cook lately. But he'd be going into his last year this year, and the thought would be, well, maybe he's going to hold out if he doesn't have a contract, because that's what some other running backs have done, like Gordon and a couple others. But and like I said, when he's on the field, he's fantastic. He was, until he started to get banged up last year, he was among the top MVP candidates, at least certainly of guys who aren't quarterbacks. But the Vikings are cash strapped, and I think they've kind of learned, hopefully, over the years. They never screwed themselves too bad on the cap with Peterson, but there were a couple years in there where he was getting paid so much money it was maybe limiting them in other areas. And now with Cook, it's even more so, because they're already pretty close to the cap, and you can't give him, he wouldn't get 16, he'd maybe get 12, but you can't give him that. You really can't. I mean, I would sign him in a heartbeat if it's a team friendly deal, but I don't know that it's. But running backs don't have long careers. If you're a running back, you gotta get paid as quickly as possible and get out of there. Very few people are Adrian Peterson, who are still playing their mid-30s. Cook could be out of the league completely in a couple of years. It's just the way it is with running backs. And he's a fantastic running back, but it's kind of a luxury to have a player like that. And then especially when you've got limited cap space as it is, and you've still got to work on an offense, building up an offensive line. You're still going to have other young players you got to sign going forward. You can't, you just can't pay him that much money. So then the option would be, do nothing, but then you could hold out, and then don't even get the on the field production, or you could trade him. But then the flip side of that is, what kind of trade market is there for running back? The Rams couldn't find any, a trade partner for Gurley. Now Gurley was already getting paid big money, so that probably had something to do with it. But I don't think you're not going to get a Herschel deal. You're not going to trade Cook here, maybe even before the draft next week, and get multiple high picks from somebody. It's just very unlikely. You might be able to get, a second, maybe. I mean, all it takes is one team that's willing to do it. But, and yeah, if you trade him, if you trade Cook, you weaken your team. Just like trading Diggs weakens your team. But you can get a running back. You can get a Dalvin Cook. Maybe not as good as Cook. I mean, we have Madison. He's not as good as Cook, but he's pretty good. We've got Boone, who's shown some flashes when he's had a chance, and you can always draft somebody here in the draft this year. And they're not going to be Cook. Cook is not a replacement level player, but I think everything. If you pay attention to everything going on in the league, history, contract, everything, it all points to you cannot sign Dalvin Cook to a long-term deal, an expensive deal anyway. Spielman's been through this with Peterson. I hope that he gets it. I trust him, but I hope that he gets it. I know they want to be a running team, largely a running team. But you can be a running team even if you don't have Dalvin Cook. You can, the 49ers just made it to the Super Bowl, and they had very much of a running back by committee, and it seemed like, turn over a rock. There's a new running back who's doing well. I think that's more the formula you're going to see going forward for teams, and I hope that's the formula the Vikings choose, because let's say they go into next season with Madison, let's say Boone, and somebody in the draft, and maybe Abdullah, I guess, would be in the mix there too. You can certainly get by with that. I don't think the team's gonna implode if you don't have Dalvin Cook. So yeah, I hope I got my fingers crossed that they're not gonna give him the big contract.